Phil, always good to come down to the Greenyards, have a little chat just before the big event, which seems to come around quicker every year.
Doesn't it just?
How's it all shaping up?
Yeah, looking good. We've just started the build today, so that's some of the fencing going down. So, yeah, that's us point of no return. So, lots of squad names beginning to come through. So, yeah, feels like we're not far from the Melrose Sevens once again. As you say, it comes around pretty fast.
And it is a huge task, this infrastructure, putting it all in.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a hell of a group of people behind the scenes that do an awful lot, and yeah. Guy called Alan Dawson, who for the next 2 weeks is pretty much full-time on construction. Jim, who deals with all of the health and safety and the security and the counter-terrorism and stuff that people just go, really, do you have to? And the answer is yes. You know, that an event of this size has huge amounts in the background. So yeah, very, very lucky to have a good team.
And it's big changes, really, when you compare it with, say, 10 years ago. I mean, obviously it was a huge operation then, but the fact that health and safety is up several levels, finances up several levels, you know, it's a real struggle.
Yeah, look, I think yeah, events are evolving. The expectations, you know, from a government perspective in terms of safety, you know, things like the Manchester bomb, you know, these things have really brought a new dimension and level of professionalism that's required. And you know, we're lucky to build on what was before us, but at the same time, we face a different set of challenges. Costs are going up, the police charges go up every year, the council want to charge more. You know, we're lucky to have supportive partners, but you know, everyone's got you know, tightening purse strings, and you know, the finance again is a big factor nowadays.
So it's all going to be paid for, obviously. Ticket sales, how are they going?
Yeah, we're pretty long. I think we're about 20% ahead at the moment on last year's Stuart. So I expect the next. Well, in fact, I know today ticket sales I think we've sold 5,000 or something. You know, in the first sort of 7-8 hours today. So they're definitely moving pretty quickly at this point, and we're hopeful for good weather. I haven't seen the exact forecast, but at the moment it's looking dry, which is the main thing. So hopefully that'll encourage more people to come and see what should be a great event.
Now, we always have a little chuckle at the feedback that is always there on social media. Some good, some bad, some a bit indifferent, some surprising. You take it all in, though, don't you?
Yeah, look, I think rugby is a sport with a lot of change going on and a lot of people with differing opinions, and you know, I guess our job is to put on a high quality event, but you know, it is impossible, it would appear, to please everybody. You know, we do our damnedest to put on a great event with high quality rugby, attractive to the local audience and attractive to all the visitors that are coming. And you know, I think we have to bear in mind, you know, players, youngsters, they have different requirements nowadays, perhaps from what people had sort of 10, 20, 30 and even further back. So, you know, our job is to make sure the event is relevant for them as well.
So what are the things that people are constantly coming back to you and saying, yes, you've got this right?
Yeah, I think there's a silent majority that just come up and constantly sort of pat you on the back and say, you're a lunatic for taking this on. and well done. I mean, so the things that people, you know, I think they like the quality of the rugby, they like the pitch that we have now, they like the infrastructure, the fan zone has been, you know, a big success for many people. Yeah, I mean, certainly the event is seen as being relevant, and you know, I think we're trying to. One of the Sevens events in the area that is seeing almost an upturn. So yeah, I think all of that is seen as a positive, and yeah, well, we're lucky. We'll take those bits.
And what about the other side of it then? The ones that people are sort of saying, well, oh, you should be changing this or that.
I think the primary one at the moment is a feeling that the local teams can't win the event. It's a difficult one. Obviously rugby's changed, so a team like Melrose now, would they have beaten a team that Melrose would have put out 10, 15 years ago? I don't know the answer to that, but you know, we have to deal with changing circumstances. You know, back in December, we didn't even know whether Super Series was going to be happening or not happening, or whether those teams would be able to play. Similarly, we've got clashes with the Cup. We're trying to make the event as interesting for anybody that's coming. So really pleased that the South Barbarians are able to come, and they look as though they're going to field a strong team, which should allow a team of some real local interest to, be absolutely competitive with some of the other sides that come. I think the other side that people, they've got to realise how many people want to come and play at Melrose. We are constantly turning teams away who wish they could come and play in the event, and it's a balance between the teams that want to come, and I can't dictate how strong or weak they'll be. Some teams are stronger than others. I mean, my view's always been if you bring a good strong side to Melrose, you'll do fine.
And of course, there are guest teams again this year. A lot of great players in these sides. It's getting the message out, I suppose, of where you can find these players, because the teams themselves, there are names that people haven't understood, who they are, because they just see a name and say, "Oh, I haven't heard of them."
Yeah, look, I think one of the issues we have is that sevens doesn't necessarily have the prominence that it used to have. There are seven specialists. Even Anton Dupont. He struggles to be a star in the game of sevens, having just transferred across. Michael Hooper's just been selected, I gather, for Hong Kong for the Australians. And again, it's a transition. There are guys who play sevens who are absolutely brilliant at the game of rugby sevens, who are not well-known names in the game in 15s. And ultimately, sevens is only prominent in this area for a few weeks a year. We've made a bigger effort this year to get the squad names earlier. I guess publicise a bit more publicly who some of these players are. So last year in the final, there was a Spanish sevens national player. There were, some really strong Fijian players with really, good backgrounds in the game of rugby sevens. My understanding this year is we've got a couple of GB sevens players coming. We've got a Springbok sevens player coming. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to tell their stories in the coming days.
And of course, guest teams aren't anything new. We've seen this in the past. I think the difference is we've had like London Scottishes and Ross and Parks and kind of familiar club sides, I suppose. Are they still an option for the future?
It's difficult with the likes of, I say, Saracens. These teams now, they're essentially looking for their travel to be paid, their accommodation to be paid, and potentially even their players to be paid. And as a club, we're unable at this point to do that. So, the guest sides that we are attracting are ones that are prepared to come to the Greenyards because they want to be part of the history that's here. And look, I know next year we've got one Australian club side already showing an interest in coming. I think it'd be a side that everyone would recognise. So, if they can manage to bring that together, we'd love to see them here. I think international travel is becoming easier for everyone again. I know one of the university teams is expressing an interest in coming next year. So, we're really open to whoever wants to come. And, there are no shortage of people, emailing us and asking to receive an invite.
You mentioned clashes earlier on, and of course that seems to happen every year now. It's an unfortunate situation. There's a big game at Mansfield Park, of course, happening now on April the 13th, and I guess your heart sank when that came out.
That's one of the variables that we're now facing. I mean, whether things will settle a bit more now, there's a new structure coming in the leagues, etc. We'll see, but from our perspective, all we can do is try and put on the best event we can with the cards that we're dealt.
I think one thing that I've always mentioned to you, is, which I like the idea of, is putting the emphasis more on locals and club and Scottish rugby on, say, the Saturday, and then having the guest teams on a Sunday. There is the potential there, certainly, of making it a really good, strong weekend.
Yeah, look, it's a balance. As you know, back in 2020, we looked at almost splitting the event and having a sort of more localised tournament focused on the Saturday, and as you say, a sort of semi-pro, if that's the right word, which would be pools, and then into the Sunday. I think probably now, post-COVID, having rebuilt the event, assuming we get a good Saturday in a couple of weeks, then I think for 2025, that's something the club should have another look at, and may well be the right option to take it forward. Some people don't like things to change, but in my view, you have to keep evolving, and we're evolving in what is quite a changing environment here in Scotland with rugby. So, we've got to try and find the right place for Melrose as all that settles.
Well, the rugby on the pitch is always going to be very good, right up to the very highest standards, no doubt about that. Lots of fringe activities, of course, as well, for other people to come. You've got, presumably, you've got the fan area again,
yes,
and lots of other fringe activities. What have you got for 2024?
Yeah, I think the big thing is we've put an emphasis on the family food village this year across on Gibson Park. So that was we sort of trialled it last year, and that was really successful and very successful for the vendors themselves. So we've basically got a complete book out over there, and there's some quite interesting food mixes, and a bit of something for everybody. So we're hopeful that will allow people who are coming with families who perhaps see the fan zone as a bit too lively, a nice place to go and enjoy the rugby. There's a screen going over there. We've got a party on the Saturday night for the youngsters, Hall of Fame on the Thursday night again, and there's a lot of rugby on the Friday. So we've got the under-16s, a whole borders tournament on Friday afternoon, and then into the under-18s like we did last year. Again, that's 7 borders teams plus Tynedale. They're camping out on Annie Road. So and last year the quality of that rugby was really good. Really pleased to see. Yeah,
and of course women's tournament as well.
Yeah, that's always, it's difficult. We're clashing with the Six Nations, so we're due to have 6 teams. We're down to 5, so we've had to change last minute the format. So they're actually going to end up playing a pool game at the earliest sort of part of the tournament, which is fine. But yeah, look, the quality of the 5 teams that are coming again is really high. So I think it's great for me to see women's rugby become a sort of significant part of the tournament.
What is it like for you building up to the big day?
It's getting better, I suppose. The more you practice, this is my 3rd or 4th, can't remember how many I've done. But the team's got stronger each year, and at the end of the day, they do all the work. I tend to be the gobby one at the front of it, I guess. So it flies by, but it's exciting, and as long as the weather is good for us, then we can be. The Hall of Fame, we're inducting Carl Hogg, which should be lovely to do, and Hovis Brown, and then recognising some other characters from the game locally. And I'm really looking forward to the Friday actually this year. I think that'll be really good. Really nice to see both the 16s and the 18s get to play through. So busy few days ahead, Stuart, but looking forward to it.
And you booked the weather, have you?
Always book it.